Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Piper. I am an education coordinator at the Canadian Light Source. We are here with another CLS staff member and they're going to share with us what their job position is and what they do at the facility. But before we get to that, I would just like to acknowledge that the CLS, which is located in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, is located on Treaty 6 land in the traditional territories of the Nahiwak, the Anishinaabe, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis. And as we move forward in our various relationships and partner developments, whether it's with CLS staff members or with new educators, organizations, that we respect and acknowledge Indigenous ways of knowing and oral traditions, and that we are dedicating ourselves to moving forward in a spirit of partnership, reconciliation, and collaboration. So with that, I would like to introduce Chithra, and she will pick that up and introduce herself, telling us what she does at the facility.
My name is Chithra Karunakaran. I am an agricultural engineer by training, working at the CLS since 2005. I'm the science manager at the Canadian Light Source now.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit of what you do? What does that position entail?
So as the science manager, I am responsible for the operational excellence of 5 beamlines that at the Canadian Light Source. And I am also responsible for growing and overseeing the agriculture program at the Canadian Light Source.
Interesting. So what is like a typical day of work for you, whether you're working from home or at the facility?
Right now, due to COVID, I'm working 2 days at the CLS and 3 days working from home. My day-to-day work, most of my responsibility as a science manager is to look at the beamline operations. So on a weekly basis, we look at the operational details of the beamlines, and if there are things that I need to connect with the staff, I will do that. And we also, as science managers, we also work on the long-term planning, monthly activities, yearly activities, and lots of strategic directions we talk about. Also related to the agriculture program, I am responsible for talking to agriculture users or agriculture scientists in Canada and all over the world. So that's something I routinely do.
Interesting. So if we take a look back, if you could think about kind of what it was like for you in high school, and is there any classes or knowledge that you acquired then that applies to your job now?
So if I think of high school science in my current job, I can say I apply almost all the science programs. So as I'm working on the agriculture program, I am using biology background and synchrotron. If you need to understand synchrotron science, you are applying physics and mathematics behind it. And when we look at the biochemical composition of samples that we study at the CLS, we apply a lot of chemistry. So if I think more or less all the science areas that I had and I studied, it really helps me now a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. We tell our students a lot about that, about how working at the CLS, it's very interdisciplinary. You really need to know a lot or know a little bit about some of the sciences if you really want to understand, you know, what the beamlines, what the data is telling you.
That is very true, yeah.
Yeah, so what was your education path towards getting to the CLS? Like, what's your background? What degrees do you have?
So until grade 12, I had like a strong background in science and mathematics. So in grade 11 and 12, I took courses more in mathematics and science areas. And then for my undergraduate degree, I went and studied in an agricultural college. So I studied agricultural engineering in my undergraduate. And I enjoyed that program. And then I came to Canada from India to do my master's degree and PhD. So I studied both of them at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. And then I was interested to explore a little more in my postdoctoral program. So I went to University of California to study magnetic resonance imaging. After that, only I got the job at the Canadian Light Source. So I have used a lot. My motivation is using technologies to solve problems in agriculture. That's the main motivation. I even used magnetic resonance imaging because that can be also applied for agriculture problems.
Oh, I didn't know that. In terms of you were in California and then you decided to move to bright and beautiful Saskatoon, but we're glad you did. Thinking about more about like your field of work, is there any hazards or safety concerns that you have to deal with?
At the Canadian Light Source, it's a pretty safe place. We have a strong health and safety group. They take care of the safety aspects of the CLS a lot. But on a day-to-day basis, you have to be self-aware where you are working, and you respect the signs and be compliant of the requirements. Other than that, I'm not worried about the safety at the CLS. It's one of the safest place to work.
Yeah, we always tell our students safety is the top priority. And I know I've repeated that in another career video, so I'll just keep repeating that as an ambassador for the safety for CLS.
Yeah.
Kind of related to that, is there anything that you find in your field of work that's stressful, and how do you cope with that professionally or personally?
In any work or personal life in these digital ages, it's sometimes it's not stressful. You keep busy yourself all the time. But what helps me is planning your work or even your personal life. This is all you want to do and what you have to do for that week or the day. If we can plan and manage, we can get through any work schedule. That's my take on it. And sometimes I ask for help, or if I cannot do it, I will say no. Even in my personal life, if I am busy one day, I tell my husband to cook for me. So we need to ask for help, and that's what I do.
Yeah, that's a very, very important message. Whether you're an adult or youth, anybody, that's just to think about and being comfortable asking for help. Yeah. So switching gears, was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the career in terms of, what's the financial benefits, or what's kind of how much money does your career provide, if you're comfortable sharing that?
So when I started the work at the CLS, for example, my salary was around 60,000 because I had a PhD and postdoctoral experience. And if I had to tell a message to the youth people, I would say do your degrees as best as you can. Because if you finish an undergraduate degree, you may start very low compared to you have a master's or a PhD degree. And then even after your starting salary, if you want to grow in an organization, if you have a higher degree, you have a better chance of moving higher very faster compared to others. That's one thing I learned, and that's a message I want to stress people.
Definitely, education is so valuable, and to continue with your lifelong learning, like that was something when I started doing my master's. It just opens up a whole different realm, and I can imagine same with science, or even more so, just the different avenues you can go, and you can get a bit more specialized too. So yeah,
you are right. And that's what another thing I like is continue to learn as you are in a career. You don't never stop learning. So even after I became the manager, I did a I did some courses in chartered management, because you need to do your best in any position you have. And there are always growing areas. What are the best ways you can do in a job? And that helps me.
absolutely. So are there any job shortages in the field of work? And you can think of it whether in your manager position or just as a staff scientist at CLS. Kind of what's the potential for scientists, I guess, in this current time?
If you take Canada, either in a scientist position I am in, it's in great demand because our country like Canada or any developed nations, we do a lot of research and innovation that drives the economy. And scientists are one of the biggest contributors in research and innovation. So there is always a demand for scientists.
Yeah, and that's something sometimes I find students maybe don't recognize right away. Is a lot of what we deal with in our day-to-day lives has a connection to a scientist. So they're so valuable, and like you just said, starting and developing our economy and helping further it. So I'm going to skip the question. I'll come back to it. But so what do you enjoy about your position? Or is there anything that you don't enjoy, and why is that?
If you take Canadian light source, for example, we have 22 beam lines, and even in one beam line, there are so many different researchers coming. A chemistry professor will come and collect data in the daytime, and then there will be an agricultural person in the night shift. And if you come back the next day, there will be a physicist trying to understand his materials. So one of the things I enjoy a lot is interacting with the people. Either the CLS staff, they are very amazing, like different backgrounds, but then lots of external users you can meet, and you can learn a lot about their field and the challenging problems. So no day is same, every day is different, and that's something keeps me going. One of the things sometimes I don't like, sometimes we have continuous beam time, but it doesn't happen a lot. But when you get the results, even though you are tired at the end of 24 hours or 48 hours, it's much rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. I can't even imagine going through all that. And there's probably a lot of buildup towards that too, whether it's your own research project or, like you said, a user's, because there's, months or even years, and then it's, all piled into 28 or 48 or 24 or 48 hours. So it can be a lot. And then, like you said, a reward at the end too. So
yeah, it's much rewarding when you see your results in terms of images or whatever you are interested. Yeah.
do you have a favorite experience working at the CLS, or even like a favorite project that you were a part of?
So the favorite part is when I run a lot of these agriculture samples. So for example, one of my first good experience or favorite experience is looking at plant cells first time. In the biology class in grade 11 or 12, I have seen pictures of plant cells, and I used to think how people get these pictures. And for the first time at the Canadian light source using an X-ray beamline, when I scanned these plant cells, I can see the images like how it was in the biology book in grade 12. So that was my favorite experience so far.
Oh, that's really cool. Too bad, or I don't know what the textbooks are like now, but if they would have some more of those synchrotron pictures where it can be more, I don't know, realistic or like authentic, like it's not just a clip art or a diagram.
You are right. That's what I am planning to create digital pictures of seeds, because lots of the pictures in the textbooks is some sketches which are not
Yeah.
exactly how things look now with a high resolution we could do. So we are planning to create a seed atlas. So we
Oh,
are going to scan different types of seeds so we can have like real pictures for students out there, which will be really amazing.
yeah, that is really cool. You will definitely have to let us know when that is out, and I'm sure Tracy will be the first in line to get access to it, if it's a digital copy, you said.
Yeah.
Cool. So can you think back to perhaps what your first job ever was, and share that story?
My first ever job, I can say, as a graduate research assistant when I came to Canada, because when you do your master's degree, you can work in your research project and you're paid for it. Even though
Oh,
you're
nice.
studying, you're paid to do work, research work.
Nice.
And that's my first job in Canada coming from India. And it's a very good experience because Canada and India are entirely different countries. And I liked the safety for women in Canada. So that's something really pulled me. And that's what I am staying in Canada till now.
Yeah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about that and talk about kind of the role of women in different science careers and kind of why is that important to have people like yourself, role models, kind of sharing their experience for young women across the globe, really?
Women can play a big role in scientific areas, and although the educational systems are playing a role now, there are lots of women going in science education. Still, there is a lot of room in the career. Our organizations, we need more women. And that's something every one of us have a role to play. Even at the Canadian Light Source, when I joined, there were only 2 scientists, but there are more scientists now, which I'm really happy. So before, when we go around, there is a lot of men around, but now there is a lot of women equally good. So it doesn't happen in all the places. And that's where, as a society, every one of us has the responsibility. So if there are youth people there, I will strongly encourage girls to go in science career, and we should try to change the world whatever we can.
Yes, absolutely. So I think with that, we'll kind of end on the last question. So do you have any words of advice for students when they're choosing a career or a field of study?
Every science is good. Don't think it's hard to study in any area, but pick the area that is of interest and your passion. That is going to take you in the long term. So pick your area, and whatever area you picked, give your best. Do whatever you can do better every day. So keep improving, and we all will excel in what we are doing because it's our passion.
Yeah, that's so very important is to really let your passions drive you and help further your own education and learning. Yeah, that's a really good note to end on, I think. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for agreeing to do one of these interviews. It's always a joy hearing your story and just, like you said, the different ways that women can be in positions and to do the best that you can. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Amanda. It's nice to share my experience, and let's hope we can inspire some girls there to come on science careers.
Yes. Ooh, goosebumps. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.